Now, in the kitchen today, there are just so many things going on. I am trying to get fall out, bring Christmas in. I am getting our turkey prepared. So right now, while you're here, I'm going to place this into my refrigerator so that he can stay in there and comfortably, safely thaw and defrost over the next couple of days. It'll probably take at least 2 to 3 days for this to actually thaw and be ready to work with. So I would say, let's see, today's Thursday, so we're looking at Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It should be ready to go into the brine. So that's my plan, and that's what I hope is going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead very quickly and get that into the refrigerator. Now, while you're here, you're going to see these gigantic sweet potatoes. I talked about these sweet potatoes in the cooking and preparing greens video that I did. Let me get this into the refrigerator. Okay, guys, our turkey is thawed, and we're gonna get him out of his jacket. And get some scissors, and let's cut him out. Now, while we're doing this, you're gonna also see that I have a half-gallon container of apple cider. We're going to need that. We're going to need some salt, and we're going to need some sugar, because while the apple cider is pretty sweet, it's not sweet enough to do what we want it to do with the turkey. So we're going to get him out, and it's going to take a minute to kind of get his dressing off. It has been, let's see, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Today's Monday, so this is the 4th day. And I wanted it very, very thawed. And I'm going to give everything a good rinse before we start to actually get it into its container. Now, what I've decided to do, I was going to use a big container covered in ice for 24 hours. But you know what? I've got room in my refrigerator, and I am going to actually put it right back into the refrigerator. The difference is that I'm going to put all the brine into a turkey oven bag. And when you buy your turkey oven bags, you're going to see that there's usually 2 bags. If you get a Reynolds turkey oven bag, you're going to see that there are 2 bags. And here's the box, the Reynolds Kitchen oven bag. It has two bags. So we're going to use one of those bags for him to sleep in his brine, and then we're going to use the other bag to actually bake it in. Okay, so we're just about there. I'm going to rinse this off in ice cold water, really cold, because I don't want to really change the temperature, but I do just want to clean it up. So I'm going to do that, and I'll bring you right back. Okay, there are a couple things that I want to show you. At the end of the turkey, we're back here where the wings are, you're going to see that there's a little flap that's there. And inside of there, you're going to find the bag with the turkey giblets. And actually those turkey giblets are going to add to, I usually just throw them in the bottom of the bag as well, so that that will add to the flavor of the turkey. And so that needs to go in. You're also going to find that down here, typically they have everything all locked up. And if you pull right here, you're going to find the turkey neck. And I usually cut the turkey neck off, and I'll put it into the bag as well. But I have rinsed this cavity very, very, very well. And so I'm going to open the bag of giblets. Everything is still very cold, and that's a good thing. You want to keep it nice and cold. I have There's the giblets. And, you know, a lot of people don't eat them. That's fine. But we just want them to add to the flavor. That's all we want. So, parts of the turkey. Okay, I'm going to take it back over here, give it a quick rinse, and wash my hands real good so we can get ready to get the turkey into its bag. Now, in my water that I have in the sink over here, I have bleach. And the reason for that is that everything has to get washed down with the bleach. And that's because we're dealing with turkey innards and all kinds of turkey meat. So I'm going to rinse this off and bring it back. Okay, I'm going to put the turkey in here. Let it drip. Make sure you get all the liquid out. I'm putting it inside of the bag. And also in the bag, notice here's that turkey neck. Just drop it in. All of its little innards. We're going to drop those in. That's a lizard, the gizzard, the heart, all those things. They're going in. And I'm going to put this container over here because it's going to need to be washed because this is where the bag is going to sit. Just to make sure that nothing leaks into my refrigerator. Now, it's time for the good stuff. Okay, let me get the container back so when I start to pour this in, we'll know for sure that everything is safe. All right, guys, I've got it seated inside of this container. The first thing that I'm going to do is to pour in our juice. And I'm going to put in at least a quart, because what's going to happen every couple of hours when I'm walking past, I'm going to come by, take it out, flip it over, and it's going to be ready to go. Now there's something else that we need. We need to salt this. And we're going to give it a good salt because we want it to have not only the apple flavor, but you know, in most brines, there's salt. And that keeps you from having to salt later. So it's got a good layer of salt. And it will mix in and get happy. I'm also going to add some pepper. You know, we're not baking at this point. We're just seasoning it up. Now, 1 quart. Okay, we've got all that in there. Now what I'm going to do is to tie this, try to get most of the air out as much as possible. I'm going to twist. And these bags are very good. I can't really complain as long as you buy a good brand. And for me, Reynolds has never failed. So I have to tell you, I've been using Reynolds as long as they've had them. Okay, now this is in. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to carefully pick it up. That's the plan anyway. Carefully pick it up. You know, I don't usually do this part on camera. And I'll turn it over. Give it a little smushy, smushy, smush. Just to get everything nice and mixed. And then, I don't want to stick my fingers through the bag. I don't think I did. I think I'm just holding on to stuff. Holding on to whatever I can get. And that's the reason for having it in this container. So just in case, we can save ourselves. All right. Now, baby's ready to go back into the refrigerator for 24 hours. And you can even leave it up to 48. It just depends on when you want it and when you started it. So I'm going to probably leave it in 24 because I actually, about a little over 24 actually, but I'm going to serve this on Wednesday. So there it is. It's ready to go. And I'll see you when she comes out of the refrigerator. We're ready to get the turkey into the oven. So this is the second bag, and we are going to open it up just like we did the first time when we were putting the brine into the bag and allowing it to stay in the refrigerator. So we're going to place the turkey in, and we're going to add, as you can see, there's the turkey, and you can see all the brine slushing around in there. So we are going to need to cut that bag open. We're going to leave it in that plastic container because we're trying to keep things as clean as possible. When I finish, I'm going to do a solution of Dawn and bleach and just wipe everything down, because turkey is poultry and it has a tendency to have bacteria. So we're going to make sure that everything is clean, and we're taking out all the little pieces, these little inner pieces, and putting them over into the bag where the gravy, or at least the juice from the turkey, will cook. Now, what is going to be down in the bottom of this turkey once it is finished cooking is going to be liquid gold. So notice I'm shaking to make sure I get as much of that brine off. I am not rinsing it. Do not rinse it. Just do not use the brine. So I'm trying to cut at the end of the turkey. There's a little kind of hard rubbery piece that helps to hold the legs together, and I'm taking my scissors and trying to cut those. I didn't want to use my wire cutters. They would have cut it very quickly, but you could certainly bake it with it on, but I'm trying not to do that. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to cut that loose. All that does is to help keep the legs in place when you're baking your turkey. So we're going to work on that. And it's got a little piece that goes down kind of into the back of the back and the breastbone. So I'm trying to pull that out, and that piece was more difficult. So I've got to do a little more cutting and get that out. So I'm putting all of that into that brining bag, and we're just going to move that out of the way for the time. Now I'm going to pull that bag up around the turkey and get it ready to close it up. So there we go, shift it around. You can work with it. It feels like it's very fragile, but it's not nearly as fragile as you think. So I'm washing my hands. You really do want to wash often. So please make sure that you do that. Take the time, soak the hands up, and get them clean. Now, remember the other half of the cider container, the apple cider. We put in 1 quart into the brine, and now we're going to take the other quart and we're going to pour it into the bag so that we will cook this turkey in the cider. Now, I can tell you, this cider, you're not going to really taste apple cider. So all of that's gone. What it's going to do is that it's going to give your turkey a nice semi-sweetness. I'm going to also put an onion into my turkey. I cleaned it off, and I'm going to stuff onion into both ends of the turkey. I know that sounds terrible, doesn't it? But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stuff onions in there. That's on one end. I'm going to go down, pull up the flap on the other end, and stuff an onion inside of there. It's just going to add additional flavor to the turkey. Now, we're not quite finished at this point. We need more vegetables. So you can see I added carrots and celery,
which are things I normally put into any turkey, even if you don't brine it in the apple cider or apple juice. You're going to want to make sure that you have good vegetables inside of your turkey, because that's your seasoning. It's going to season up that turkey very well. And you do want to make sure that you don't cheat, that you put vegetables on both ends of the turkey. So that's what I'm doing to make sure that I get seasoning on all the ends. Now I'm thinking I can stuff all of that into that cavity, but it's not that big, so I'm going to have to stuff as much as I can. You can see some of it's kind of hanging out, but that's okay. That's okay. They're going to cook down. They're going to shrink. So let's wash hands again. Get them nice and clean. Okay, we need some salt. We're going to add a little additional salt. I'm going to add in about, I'm going to say about a teaspoon, and I'm going to put a full teaspoon of salt in there, into that major cavity. Just going to kind of throw him in. He'll be fine. That's just going to add more flavor. Now let me tell you, the turkey was not salty. Not one bit of it was salty. So that tells you that turkeys are pretty bland initially. Now what I'm doing right now is that I'm tying up the turkey so that we're sealing it, and there's little ties. I've got one, and I'm going to wrap that around, and they are oven proof, so they can go into the oven without a problem. Now, you know, I cook this turkey low and slow. Low and slow just adds to the turkey being able to cook and to come out tender. So we're going to cook it initially at 300, and we're going to do that for, if you're just going to cook it straight and you're awake, then you'll cook it for about 5 hours, 300 to 325. But I decided to do it overnight. And so what I did was that I started it the first 2 hours at 300 and let it cook for those 2 hours. At the end of 2 hours, when I was ready to go to bed, then I cut it back to 225, and I let it go until 7 o'clock the next morning. So we're good to go at that point.
All right, guys, it is in the middle of the early morning hours, and I had woke up to the smell of turkey, so I came downstairs to see how it was doing. And actually, it's doing very well, and it's just about ready. It's going to take about another hour, but what I did, I put the temperature up, because last night what I did before I went to bed, I turned it down to 200. I gave it about 2 hours at 300, and then put it down to 200 so it could go until I got up this morning. Now, it is now 7 o'clock. I'm going to put it on 400 and let it go for 1 hour-ish, because I want good, nice color on it, but I don't want to dry it out. I have not opened that bag because I want the moisture to stay inside of the bag. And once I've done that, then we're going to be ready to take it out and let it cool. And Papa is going to do the slicing, and we're going to get it onto a beautiful tray. And I am going to work on the Ciderhouse gravy. So I'll see you in an hour. Well, guess what? The baby is out of the oven. I cut the temperature up so that I could continue to brown it. Now, it's not quite as brown as I want it, but if I were going to put this on the table and just have it sit there so everyone can see how beautiful it was, then I would worry about the brownness of the top of the turkey. It's pretty brown. I didn't want it to be too terribly light, so it's got a good goldenness. But what I don't want is for my breast, the turkey breast, to be dry. So I have kept it in the bag, and I'm going to let this sit here and cool. It needs to cool. You can see the morning sun's coming up, and it needs to cool. And so I'm keeping it in the bag because I want it to, you can see how the light changes, sorry, but I want it to have a chance to cool so we can slice it. So we are ready to slice this birdie and get him ready to go on the platter. Our Ciderhouse turkey is ready. So I'm going to whip that gravy together with you, and then we'll start some of the slicing process. I'm probably only going to slice at first half the turkey, and if it looks like I need more, I can always add more pieces. All right, here's what's going into the Ziploc bag. I'm going to bag these up. You see I've got bones, I've got little pieces of things all over the place, and I'm still tasting and nibbling. So I'm going to bag all this up. When I get ready to make soup, all of this, or even turkey hash, all of this is going to get cooked down, and it's going to make the most wonderful dish ever. So never, never, never throw all of this goodness away, because it's got a place and there are things that you can do with it. And stay tuned, because eventually you'll get to see how this is going to be used.